Good evening. I have been thinking to myself about posting some videos about things that I put online because there are some things that people just will not read. They just won't read it. But they might listen to a small clip of a video. And so I've been listening to Ken Ham and Martin Iles, um, Ken Ham is the founding CEO of Answers in Genesis. And Martin Iles, about 8 months ago, he was made the uh, ministries, um, executive ministries officer. Excuse me, I was trying to remember. And then recently, probably about 3 months ago, he was actually made the executive CEO. So Ken Ham is the founding CEO and Martin Iles is the executive CEO, but they're working together, and they've been doing this recent video series in Australia called The Rise of Babylon. And Ken Ham, as always, is taking us to the answers in Genesis as it refers to creation versus evolutionism and how that all plays out in our society today. Martin has a slightly different approach, and his deals with a lot of the social issues that we see today and the wokeism and all of the crazy stuff that's going on, and how the foundation to combat that still takes us back to Genesis. And so they're coming at it from a couple different angles, but they're still saying all of the same things about how, it's God first, and it's His word, and salvation is only in Jesus Christ, and all of that affects all of the issues that you and I see in our society. So it's actually the rise of Babylon, and they've done 3 sessions already. They're doing a 4th one on the 9th, and it's been really good. I've been listening to them. But it made me think to myself, what exactly is Babylon? There's Babylon the Great, and there's Babylon, the woman that's sitting on the red beast, and it's the false religious system at the end times that you read about in Revelation. And so what's the difference between quote-unquote Babylon and just the sin of mankind? And so I just jotted down a few notes that says, as men continue to fall into sin after the fall in Genesis, men begin to multiply, and we see the sons of men and the giants of the earth and the mighty men and the wickedness of man, all of that. But it's never as a collective group. It's just the broad individual members of mankind, which is bad enough. You read about it in Genesis chapter 6, and God sends a flood. So this is still judged grandly, because wickedness in man is repellent and abominable to God. And He judges it in such a way through the flood as to start fresh, while leaving evidence that there is a judge of mankind in His judgment. The destruction is from the flood. Now, of course, after that, Babel comes along, and it becomes a reality. But as opposed to just being, random men who are sinners, this is a rebellious wickedness of mankind that now exists as a collective whole, a united front, an organized collective force rebelling against God. That's the idea of Babylon. This is judged grandly because the fullness of Babylon is not really ready to culminate until the end of the time of the Gentiles that you and I read about in Revelation. God does judge the Babylon of Babel in such a way, through confusing the speech and dispersing those who had settled there, to slow that culmination down. It's not time yet. He wants to slow down the culmination of Babylon and leave evidence, of course, behind that there is a creator of man. Even in his confused state, you and I have evidence that we are all nations of one blood. You can actually learn more about that with Dr. Nathaniel Jensen on Answers in Genesis YouTube page, as they talk about genetics and the evidence that shows that we are all linked together. It's really amazing. So the difference is that Babylon is a system of sin in mankind, and it's stretched out over millenniums. You see it in the Tower of Babel, obviously, but you see it in Babylon, in Nebuchadnezzar. You see it in Rome. You see it today. But it's operated by Satan and filled with men. It is a demonically driven system, world system. And it is the collective whole of what the individuals bring to it. So just some thoughts on what the difference is between just the random sin of mankind and the organization that was and will be known as Babylon. God bless and take care.